Hey guys, my name is RGB. So, last week I went through this art style crisis and it really made me think about many art related struggles and topics all involving art style and how it can affect self-worth and basically sour your relationship with art. This video is very different from my usual content. I want to talk with you guys and share some thoughts, so it will make me pretty happy if you listen to me while you do your homework or just draw. I'll be working on some art of mine, so you can give it a look from time to time if you'd like to. So, I'm pretty sure at least half of my audience is built of artists in general. Having a period of time where you struggle with your artistic identity is bound to happen, I think. And it's kind of inevitable, especially if you get into social media early on in your journey. I don't know how your experience was, but I can assure you that once I started seeing and interacting with other creatives, my self-worth dropped like instantly. It was really good and awful because I started to consciously try to improve my skills in order to be better and find my own visual identity, but all of that was enveloped in jealousy, spite, and frustration. I know people usually try to be positive and hide they ever felt this way, but I'm a human, even though my Sona is a TV head, and I can't run or deny I've ever felt these things before. So, it's okay to have and let yourself feel these things as long as it doesn't happen constant. It's easier to understand this progression of feelings if you get some context. So, I've always been the art kid. At school, in my family, everywhere. Drawing was my only skill as I was average to bad at every other thing. So, my entire self-image and how I valued myself overall was based on my art skills and how much better I could. So when you jump into the internet, everyone seems to be better and more successful than you. So my little teenage head was very troubled. It messed me up really bad. This isn't to make anyone feel sorry or anything, I don't want that. It's just a fact that happened. I've said this just to contextualize and to let you guys feel a little bit how this video is going to be. I really wanted to talk about this topic in a specific because it's something that has been in my head for such a long time, ever since I started drawing, and I just wanted to make a chill video where I could speak to you guys and maybe if you wanted to, you would listen. So, art style has always been my reoccurring enemy who periodically shows up to boss fight me. Sometimes I win, other times I lose, most times I lose, but I always get back on track and start to draw after a huge or a small break like happened last week. So I like to touch upon some topics and how I personally find a solution to them, and maybe if you can relate to these experiences, you may find something that I say here helpful to you. And I'd also just like to know if any other artist has ever felt this way or felt something similar, because I don't have many art friends. Most of my friends are just game friends or my family, so it's pretty interesting. I'd really like to know you guys' personal experiences based on art style in general. The first thing that caused my crisis were related to finding a visual identity that will make me unique. You see, videos that talk about how to grow online as an artist are personally very terrible at what they are meant to do if you're indecisive and stubborn like me. They often speak about having a strong visual identity in order to stick to people's minds and grow your audience. That advice was terrible to me personally. I know it works to other people, because I didn't know how to have a strong visual identity, as my style fluctuated heavily based on what type of media I was consuming and on my personal mental state. So what I did at the time was search around my favorite artists, pick the biggest on follower count and with the most distinctive styles, and try to merge them little bits I liked to form the ultimate original visual identity style. After all, so many how to find your art style videos like to frame someone's art style as a Frankenstein of their favorite artists and interests, but it doesn't really work that way. I think you liking how an art style looks is pretty different from actually liking to draw with said art style. So with that mindset, your favorite artists might all be super detailed anime looking art, but you personally don't enjoy the process of drawing with that style. It took me a long time to realize that. I got so focused on someone else's visual identity that I forced myself to work around it and make it my own. As you know, my mind went with the thought process that it was already successful and pretty, so it was easier for me if I followed their path. Spoiler, I wasn't happy at all with drawing because I despised the process of making art with the amalgamation style I came up with. So my advice for this specific topic is focus on yourself. I know it's a little bit cheesy, but hey, listen to me. You should try every art style you think is pretty and you like, just to see which you enjoy working on the most. You as a person, you're irreplicable. So as long as you're passionate, consistent with drawing and not giving up, and be authentic with yourself and your interests, your visual identity will be iconic because of the human behind it. This is especially important now with AI art plaguing society. I hope it was easy to understand. In my opinion, to make a visual identity iconic, there's a lot of personal and emotional connections involved. Your style can be extremely original and never seen before, but if people don't find any type of connection to you or the subject of your art, you won't get the result you're looking for. So the next thing I want to talk about is how strongly, personally, my art style was tied, and to this day it still is a little bit, to my self-worth and self-esteem. And I know this is true to some other artists because I see a lot of comments in many videos about how people really get affected and get sad and get really sad about themselves because they're struggling so much with art style. And this is so true, and I can relate to this so deeply. So to me personally, this came like this. The more detailed I drew, the better I felt about myself. But through it, I was hating every bit of the process because honestly, I really dislike drawing details. I'm someone who's very impatient when it comes to art, so I always lean towards cartoony art. I love how flowy and wild you can be with it, and how so much faster the overall process is. But I always got a ton more of attention and compliments from everyone in my day-to-day life when I drew detailed than when I drew cartoon. People usually see detailed art and they go like, whoa, this is so amazing, I can't believe you did this. And with cartoony art, most people tend to really underestimate it and how much skills it takes to make a good cartoony art. They just look at your cartoon art and say, yeah, okay, that's like SpongeBob or something, great job. So it was a combo of personal experiences, and when I started comparing how cartoon artists performed in social media overall, I started to believe that I couldn't do well as a cartoon artist because I was mediocre at it. So I'd hide my weaknesses behind unnecessary details that really made everyone else around me be very impressed by it, while I came to terms with the fact that I wasn't good enough at anatomy and many other art knowledges to actually master my cartoon art skills. So it was perfect, right? I wasn't good enough at doing what I wanted to do, but I could pretend I was good at something else I hated to do, and people liked it, so, you know, whatever. As time went on, I started to measure my self-worth based on how my art performed online. Detailed art always did so much better than cartoony in numbers, so I personally feel very ashamed when working on cartoony art I actually enjoyed, because internally I took away so much of its worthiness, if that makes sense to you. But you know, that's really silly when you think about it, because take a look at your own art and think it as someone else's art. Do you really think someone else's art is less worthy, is worst, just because they draw in a specific style that maybe isn't so well developed, that maybe fluctuates a lot, that maybe is less detailed than other art? Would you really be so harsh on someone just because of that? Would you devalue their work just because of art style alone? If you said yes, maybe you should think and become a better person, because this definitely isn't a good thing. And if you say no, then if you want to do it to someone else, why do you do it with yourself? Why would you be so harsh on yourself just because it's you? You shouldn't feel comfortable being so harsh to yourself. You deserve kindness too, and your art is just as valuable as anyone else's art, because you are a person, and as I said before on the first topic we touched upon, you are irreplicable. No one can draw your art because they aren't you. Only you are you. This is like a very abstract way of thinking. Those are very abstract morals, or I don't know how to put it. It's very abstract overall, but it has value, and I think you should think about that when you are judging yourself and putting yourself down because of art style. Because I did that to myself, and it was really bad, and it actually really slowed down my artistic journey because I stopped improving. I stopped trying to develop my art skills because I was so focused on becoming someone. I wanted to be someone. Anyone who wasn't me. I wanted people to look at me and say, oh yeah, you're that artist. Your art is so iconic. You are so incredible. And I always took the example of other people's and was like, I want to be like that, but I need to be myself. If at the time I kept trying to be someone else, I wouldn't even have this channel. So be kinder to yourself. Don't worry so much about it. Do what you like and be happy. I know it isn't always easy. I don't listen to my own advice sometimes, and this video is kind of a reminder to future RGB for when I end up having an art style crisis again. And I just like to mention this about your art style preference. This is mostly what really opened my eyes from last week, my last art style crisis, because I don't want to do something I don't enjoy. I personally really dislike drawing detailed art because of many factors, but too many details really overwhelm me and I start to get bored at the process. And I've always been someone very passionate about cartoony art, but like I said before, I always devalued it and thought no one would actually like me and like my content if I didn't do detailed art, didn't do better art. So when I worked on the art style challenge where I tried to replicate many of my biggest inspirations art, I noticed that when I tried to work on more detailed art, I really struggled with it, and it was such a big chore. And I was like, whoa, these artists are really incredible because they can put so much detail in the work they do, but I couldn't do that. They do that for every piece. I did it for one piece and I was like, I never want to do this again. And it's really a process of you understanding and coming to terms with how your body and your mind works and accepting that you think that's pretty, but maybe that isn't for you. And that's fine. You should do art that you enjoy making. I feel like I'm really repeating myself a lot. The drawings you see in this video are very experimental drawings because as much as my art style fluctuates a lot, I really wanted to try a cartoonier, really wilder art style. And it probably looks not that different from you guys because I used the same pencils I always use, and I think that makes my art a little bit more recognizable. But bro, I had so much fun working on the first drawing. I made that drawing of Skynix OC because he gifted me Deltarune in Steam, and I had so much fun, and he gave me some advice about art style because I was in the ArtTuber guild and I was like, guys, I'm having an art style crisis, I'm really struggling, I don't know what to do anymore, can someone please help me? And he was really helpful with the advice he gave me, so I got a little bit more motivated to actually do this video based on art style talk and stuff, try different content and try a different art style. I'm a little nervous about this as it's content that is really different from everything I tried so far, but if this performs fairly well, I want to do more videos where I'm just drawing stuff in the background because I really miss making art just because making art. I want to not tie to redesigns. I really miss doing fun art, so I was really happy when I was working on the Deltarune drawing. And I actually started watching some videos of this YouTuber called Baby Jamie1, and he makes videos playing Minecraft, playing his Minecraft world and reading Reddit stories, and it was so much fun. So I was like, I want to do something like this based on art because I do art, so I would do drawings and talk about something. And I thought it would be fun maybe if next video, if this does fairly well, sorry I'm repeating myself so much, this is non-scripted, I could read some art-related stories I find on Reddit or I find anywhere else, or art-related stories you guys have. So if you watched to this point, I would love to read your guys' experiences with art style and art-related stories in general. I really love reading comments. This is another thing that maybe doesn't suit the topic so much, but I really wanted to make this very clear. I'm someone that really loves reading comments. I really enjoy talking to my community. So I do trade a post that has 100,000 likes to a post who has like 20 comments, because that's how much I value you guys' opinions, how much I value you guys' comments. So your interactions are really important to me, so never feel afraid to leave a comment, because I always read them and I always have so much fun reading them. I know there are some people who feel a little bit afraid or may feel like their comment wouldn't matter, but it does matter. I really like you guys. And thank you so much for watching the video. If you want to see more videos like this, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and leave your feedback in the comments. It's very important because it's such a different kind of content I've never did before. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you on the next one. Bye!